Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a very spicy, interesting show for you. Yep. Old Sports Talk Jay made a mistake. I screwed up a little bit.
No. You insulted him a little bit. You got a little out of order yourself.
No, I didn't insult him. I didn't insult him.
Insulted him a little bit.
And boy, are the Florida State folks letting me have it.
Fly, ladies and gentlemen. Get your cameras ready.
Yeah, exactly like that. Now, look, the mistake I made really didn't have a whole lot to do with the show that I did. What I was talking about was Matt B. Great had come out with I guess you'd call it an accusation. Basically a recruit had contacted him that he knows that said that he'd been getting money through a Florida State type person.
Are you sure?
And he's still in high school and he's not committed to Florida State. So that obviously started a firestorm, as you can imagine, and I covered that. Well, then a Florida State YouTuber, which is called Double Fries, No Slaw, came out and he responded to that accusation. And I'll show you just a little short clip of it. And I was watching Matt be great, and he thinks he knows why they're getting all these players.
In the country, not just Florida State, everywhere in the country are doing this. Y'all can say I'm dry snitching all you want, but notice I didn't even tell you who the player is, and you'll never be able to guess it. But as far as it goes for this said Florida State recruit that Florida State is paying weekly, he even called me up after the video and he was reading some of the comments and we were laughing about it. Because a lot of people were saying, well, Matt, why would this said recruit tell you that? Because then that'd mess it up for him. They'd quit paying him. And yet again, guess some of y'all got selective hearing. This said recruit isn't even committed to Florida State. It's not like if they tell them in a couple months, hey, we're going to cut you off and we're not going to give you any more checks, it's going to affect his future. He's not committed there. Me sharing that story isn't me being a hater. It's me telling you what's going on. It's the facts. Do some of y'all not remember that Texas A&M was paying players millions? I'm talking about a couple $1 million before they even stepped foot onto a football field. And yet some people got the nerve to question my credibility when I state that Florida State is recruiting a kid and giving him a couple $1,000s every couple of weeks. So let me get this straight. Y'all are okay with believing that A&M was paying a couple different recruits. It was actually like 10 or 11 different recruits, millions of dollars. Y'all can believe that. But you won't believe Florida State paying a guy a couple $1,000s a month? Come on, man. Make it make sense.
All right, so that's basically what the show was about, pretty much, was his comments and then, of course, the Double Fries guy. And I'll show you what his response was, briefly. No Slaw, and they cover FSU. So let's see what their response is to this. And needless to say, this guy was not happy.
All right, this is going to be incredibly different. I've never done anything like this on YouTube. I don't really get into a lot of he said, she said, or respond to allegations of this, that, or the other. We really just kind of bring you the FSU news and go from there. But today's the exception, and hopefully you guys like this. But there are some accusations going around on YouTube by a popular YouTuber that we're going to get to in just a moment. We're going to tell you a little bit more about that, why that's going on, try to make sense of it, and then let you decide what you think at the end. Popular YouTuber Matt B. Great is his name, has made some accusations here recently in a couple of videos that Florida State has been paying a kid direct deposits on a semi-regular basis, and this kid's not even committed. Matt has some inconsistencies in his videos, just really right off the rip. He talks about how he doesn't really follow recruiting, doesn't really talk about recruiting, doesn't really care about recruiting, because Florida State is not paying kids that are committed, uncommitted, or anywhere in between. Florida State is not paying kids to commit. Florida State is not paying kids, certainly that are not committed. Florida State doesn't pay kids anyway. They give out scholarships, and then Florida State's NIL company, the Battle's In, certainly starts to pay kids once they've signed their NLI, once they're on campus. But Florida State is not a major college football program and regularly paying kids like Matt B. Great alleges that are not committed to their school.
All right, so that's what the video was about, and that's not what I'm taking a bunch of grief over, because I was basically just pointing it out, talking about it, and I find it very interesting, especially with NIL the way that it is. It's this name, image, and likeness thing. I don't even know that I care if high school kids are getting money. Look, everybody that's any good in sports, in football, is getting money now. That's just kind of the way it is. But obviously, you know, there are certain things you probably shouldn't be doing. So anyway, that's what this video is about. But where I screwed up, this is where I made my mistake, and I have gotten hammered over it. I'll actually show you where I messed up. Florida State and Mike Norvell have done really well on the recruiting path this year and last year, and they're starting to become very relevant again. And I can totally appreciate that, because Florida State was big when we were big. If you'll remember, we played Florida State in a national championship game.
Oh, who won that fight anyway?
That's right. And we were very fortunate, actually. Their starting quarterback got hurt, and that helped us quite a bit. I will say that. But we did win and finished 13-0 for that year and won the national title. But Florida State was a big dog back then. They were one of the biggest programs in the country. And ever since they joined the ACC, they have been in the dumps. I mean, I thought they would dominate the ACC, and they have not dominated anything except the Basement Award. All right, so obviously that's where I messed up right there. I said they've been in the dumps ever since they joined the ACC, and the only thing I can figure, I'm bad to tie Florida State to Miami for whatever reason. First of all, they're in the ACC. They both joined, not at the same time, but I just get those two confused in my mind for some reason. But anyway, I kind of was thinking they were like them as far as their record, and they've been crappy for the last 5, 6, 7 years, but when they first joined the ACC, they were quite good, and I'll show you those records. And here you go. They joined back, they joined a long time ago, 1992. And you can see they were very good in the 90s, quite good. And then they started kind of pulling down a little bit. And then they had Jimbo Fisher for a little while, and they actually won a natty. So they had some good years there, and then they kind of went into the doldrums. And I'm trying to think, I think this is when they fired Jimbo, and he went to Texas A&M and wound up with a contract you can't believe. But they've been, 7-6, 5-7, 6-7, 3-6, 5-7, and that's in the ACC. Last year they were 10-3. So when you're in the ACC, if you're going 7-6, 5-7, and doing all that, you're not very good. All right, look, let's just call it what it is. The ACC is not a tough conference. Certainly not anywhere close to the SEC. That's just a fact. And how I justify that comment is, well, besides common sense, is if you watched what Clemson did last year. Clemson was the best team in the ACC last year, and they were undefeated in the ACC. They lost to Notre Dame, South Carolina, and Tennessee. So the two teams they played in the SEC, which were honestly not the top teams in the SEC, even though Tennessee was super close, the top teams were Georgia and LSU, and then Alabama was right there too. Well, they played two that were almost right there, and that was South Carolina and Tennessee, and they got beat by both of them. And the one loss to South Carolina was at Clemson, and the loss to Tennessee was at a neutral site. So these weren't even away games. Okay. So that's why I don't have a ton of respect for the level of play at the ACC. Now, that's changing. It is changing, and the reason it's changing is because of the recruiting. And that's right here. You can see Florida State's got 3 5-stars, and they're sitting at number 5, and the big thing is their average is really good. All right, so that's going to help right there. And then you go in here, where's Clemson at? Clemson, of course, always recruits really well. So the recruiting is starting to improve for Florida State in a significant way. And that's the key. If you're going to play against SEC teams in the 12-team playoff, you'd better have some real players. You know, winning the ACC and all that that's not going to matter when you get in that playoff. What is it Mike Tyson says? Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. So that's what the 12-team playoff is going to be all about. But Florida State's coming on. They really are. And let me show you Miami's record. And this, I think, is where I got myself messed up. And here's Miami. Last year they were 5-7, and they spent a ton on recruiting. They spent so much money. 7-5, 8-3, 6-7, 7-6. They had one decent year, 10-3. Then all the way down, you can see they're just slightly over 500 for the most part. Not until you get back when they were in the Big East, when they had some good years. And then, of course, in the 80s, late 80s, mid 80s, they were fantastic. This is when they won some natties and really, really played well and had some great teams, undefeated, etc. But that was back in the early 90s. That was forever ago. What was that, 30 years? So Miami has pretty much stunk up the joint ever since they joined the ACC, and I kind of tied Florida State with that, which was incorrect. Look, I made a mistake.
I was not exactly right.
So anyway, let me show you where Florida State pointed that out. And so here's one right here. It says, so winning the conference 12 of their first 14 years isn't dominant. Like I tell my students, do your homework. If you meant they haven't been dominant lately, you're correct, but that's not what you said. He's right. Here's another one. Bro, you can do better. It's not like you're 20 and have only really watched college football for the last 5 years. I could be 20. I'm about 3 times that, but I could be 20. I mean, it's not like I look that old.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
FSU joined the ACC in 1991 and has played or been voted in the ACC title game 17 times, won it 15. In that time, they also won a national championship, multiple times? They're 3. So on average, winning the ACC title every other year is not a bottom feeder. So he's correct. Here's another guy that said, you said FSU hasn't been relevant since joining the ACC. You obviously know nothing about college football. They joined the ACC in 1992. They won 3 of their national titles in the ACC, which was 93, 99, and 2013. Come on, man, get your information right. Agreed. I screwed up.
Oh, well, pardon me, Mr. Perfect. I guess I forgot that you never ever make a mistake.
That's right, Mr. Perfect. Look, mea culpa. I messed up. I screwed up. I admit it. Didn't have anything to do with the video. It was just me smacking my gums on that one. So I screw up sometimes. I don't have a team here helping me, okay? And I was so busy working on putting the video together, I should have done my homework. I messed up. And FSU has been calling me out ever since. So anyway, I did want to cover this and correct my mistake. You know, sometimes you got to play a video of yourself and it makes you look kind of dumb.
Hey, that hurt.
But so be it. That's life of being a YouTuber. It's not the first time. It won't be the last time. I try not to have it happen that much, and it's been a while since I made that kind of mistake, probably a few months, but I'll make another one eventually. I'm sure it might be tomorrow. Oh, and one note, I will be covering the Jordan Ross commitment. I'm going to be starting at 7:30 tonight with my bro Chillmont on YouTube, and it should be fun to cover this. I'm hoping we get this guy. I think we got a real good shot at it. I haven't been able to do as many live commitment watches as I would like to because I've just had too many things going on and work and all that.
Well, the world needs ditch diggers, too.
But I am going to cover this one, again, 7:30 tonight. So check that out if you like me and my bro Chillmont. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover the Vols, SEC, and sometimes the ACC. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit that little button. I would appreciate it. And right over here is the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll love. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.